Good morning, good evening, friends. Welcome to my channel Ek Kitab Se Ek Moti, which in English means a pearl or gem from one book. Today I'm going to read out a few extracts from this book, Sure Ways for Success in Life and God Realization. This book has been written by Swami Sivanand. It has been published by the Divine Life Society publication. The Divine Life Society is an organization founded by this great saint, Swami Sivanand. Swami Sivanand influenced several people and continues to influence through his books. That is, he continues to spread his influence through his literature. I think he wrote more than 100 books, if I'm not mistaken. I have quite a few of his books. His books are very practical, and it's not just theoretical principles that he mentions. He also lays out a plan of action, or kind of a blueprint, or I should call it, a roadmap. He tells us how to put his ideas into practice. And one of the unique features of this book is the spiritual diary he has included at the end of the book. So maybe towards the end of the video, I'll just briefly talk about the spiritual diary and how we can maintain it, how we can amend it for our own use. That is, how we can make some minor changes to that spiritual diary, because it's not what questions have been included in the diary that's important. It's the process. I think it is the same process that one of the great Americans, Benjamin Franklin, followed to change his life. And in his mature days, that is when he was quite an old man, he said, that is, Benjamin Franklin said, that one of the reasons why his life had been a successful life was because of the method he followed to improve it. It is, he followed this method of monitoring his progress in certain areas of his life. So I'll talk about that at the end of the video. But today I'm going to present a few extracts related to oratory, or the skill of speaking, elocution. So the title of the section that I'm going to read is How to Become an Orator. So I'm going to read from two sections, and both are related. So one section is called How to Become an Orator, and the other section is called Hints on Lecturing. So you may have to be a bit patient today, because it's going to be a little long. Maybe, again, I'm not sure if I'm estimating the time needed to read this correctly, but I think it might take maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So please hear me patiently. Because what I'm reading is from a great saint's pen. I mean, the words are the product of his pen, of his knowledge, of his great sadhana or spiritual practice. So let's hear him. He deserves our hearing. How to Become an Orator. So I'm reading from his book now. How to Become an Orator. Demosthenes was an awful stammerer. Demosthenes was a Greek speaker. I think he was a famous speaker during the heights of the Greek civilization. Demosthenes was an awful stammerer. He kept pebbles in his mouth and practiced lecturing on mountain tops and hillsides, and in course of time turned out to be one of the most powerful orators that Greece had ever produced. If a stammerer could become an orator, you all can turn out to be better orators, provided you apply yourself very diligently. I don't think any skill can be acquired without practice and application. Practice rehearsals in solitude and before a big mirror. Watch your movements of hands, gestures, and expressions of your face before the mirror. Now, since it was written in the 1930s, the first edition of this book, Sure Ways for Success in Life and God Realization, was published in 1936, the first time, I think. So he's referring to the mirror, and there might not be references to mobile phones and modern technology. So instead of standing before a big mirror, you can record your speech on your phone using the video recording application. So you can record your speech and see and analyze your speech and gestures and facial expressions. I'll come to that when I'm done with the reading of these extracts. When you are on the platform, think that you are in no way inferior to anybody. Don't consider yourself inferior. I think you think of yourself as equal to others. I mean, we need not have this feeling of superiority, but we need to feel that we are equal with others. I mean, in no way inferior to those who are listening to us. Some people become very nervous when the idea that the audience consists of very learned people comes to their minds. Think that you are the great teacher and the hearers have come to learn something from you. Think that the hearers are ignorant persons. Now, I might slightly disagree with Swamiji, because I think we shouldn't consider our hearers to be ignorant. We should consider them human beings with rational faculty, and that they are equal with us, in no way inferior to us, in no way superior to us, and they have been given this God-given faculty of reasoning. This will give you strength and boldness in the beginning. So maybe in the beginning you can imagine that your hearers are ignorant, just to kind of boost your confidence level and just to give you courage and strength. But I think this attitude in the long run may be harmful or counterproductive. At the outset, take down hints on a piece of paper and remember the points. If you have 10 points to talk about, talk on those 10 points with force and emphasis, without any tinge of shyness. Do not think, I must produce a good, impressive speech. I must talk very fluently today. I must produce a good impression today. If your mind is directed towards these things, you will forget your points and cut a very sorry figure on the platform. Talk boldly with emphasis on the points you have noted down and get down from the platform. The audience must be deeply impressed. Practice Bhastrika Pranayam and chanting of Om loudly in a lonely place. Now, the fact is, Swami Sivanand used to add these nuggets, in his suggestions, these gems in between. So normally, very few books will talk about doing pranayam to improve your speaking skills or chanting Om loudly, but he is unique in his ideas, and that means he is an independent thinker. He's not just blindly following what others have already spoken or said on becoming a good orator. Practice Bhastrika Pranayam and chanting of Om loudly in a lonely place. This will give you a powerful and sweet voice. You must be a perfect moral man. You must speak truth and preserve virya. You must practice japa and meditation. Then alone you can become a powerful, fiery and impressive speaker. Otherwise, your speeches will be like empty bullets in the air. They cannot produce any impression on the minds of the hearers. And that's a nice analogy. Empty bullets in the air, words without backed by action and moral character and study usually are like empty bullets. Now, let me just digress a bit. I think the leaders of today, I mean, not all the leaders, and I'm not generalizing, but quite a few leaders of political parties today, they talk a lot. So they speak a lot on many subjects, and sometimes they just go on talking. Their talk is sometimes just a ramble. There's no focus. But what I'm trying to get at is this: that is, usually their words are not backed by action, so they're just like empty bullets without any power. Now I'm going to read the next section, hints on lecturing. Please listen very carefully, because this can change your life. You can turn out to be a good speaker. Hints on lecturing. In the beginning, chant a common prayer and Sadguru Stotra. Pray to the Lord mentally before you speak. think of your Guru. Practice regularly in the morning, jap, meditation, asanas, pranayam, observe ahimsa, satya and brahmacharya, that is non-injury, truthfulness and celibacy. Then only your speech will be forcible and impressive. First, give a general outline of the subject. Then discuss clearly with logical sequence and finally conclude your lecture with an eloquent and thrilling speech. Give suitable illustrations and analogies from daily life and short parables in the middle. I'm sorry. I need to clear my throat. Have full conviction of the truth to be presented in the lecture. Think clearly and independently. Express your thoughts clearly. Speak forcibly from the bottom of your heart. Let your speech appeal to reason and emotion. You should keep the audience fully absorbed in your speech. They should crave for more of your lectures. Your lecture should have a lasting impression on them. Have command over the language. Now, there is some uniqueness about the language of Swamiji. Normally, we would say acquire command of language or so on. But he's saying have command over the language. So the language is a bit unique. Have command over the language. Have vast reading. Use well-chosen words. Speak and pronounce clearly. Every word should be distinct. Be emphatic wherever it's necessary. Be direct in your speech. Go to a lonely place or room and practice speaking before the imaginary audience. Practice lecturing and making gestures in front of a big mirror. Select an attractive title for the lecture. Be graceful in making gestures. Do not jump vehemently. Turn to the audience on all sides. I'm not sure whether it's pronounced vehemently or vehemently. I will have to check its pronunciation, but you can also Google this word and check the pronunciation. So don't pronounce it the way I'm pronouncing, because I'm not sure. Be graceful in making gestures. Do not jump vehemently. Turn to the audience on all sides. Use different kinds of pitch in the voice. Let there be a free flow of your speech. So he is recommending the elimination of fillers. Do not say, of course, so on and so forth. You see, and etc. Do not repeat the same sentence again and again. Now, I do that often when I talk. I say, or you know. It takes some practice, so just when you record your speech, just try to pay attention to how many times you're using these fillers or gaps or unnecessary words or unnecessary sounds. Be bold, think and feel. I am a very good and able lecturer. I will thrill and electrify the audience. You can thus conquer platform nervousness and shyness. I'm sorry. Note down some points on a piece of paper and develop them. In the beginning, you can get by heart the whole speech. Through experience, you will be able to deliver extempore lectures. Now, it's not extempore. Many people pronounce it as extempore. It's extempore. Extempore. That is without preparation. Through experience, you will be able to deliver extempore lectures. Find out what sort of audience you have got and speak according to the type of people. I think extempore also means without looking at notes. I'm not very sure of the exact meaning, but normally when we say speak extempore, it means, you don't refer to your notes and you deliver a speech without much preparation. That is at short notice. Someone asks you to speak on a topic and you just stand up and deliver that talk. Find out what sort of audience you've got and speak according to the type of people. Feel the pulse of the audience. Feel the pulse of the audience. If their interest decreases, give out a short, interesting story or stop your lecture with a short conclusion. Do not bore and tire the audience. Your speech should be nicely adjusted according to the allotted time, the interest of the audience, and the points you have to discuss. Maintain the continuity of your speech. Whenever you give any illustration or parable, connect it to the point to which the illustration or parable refers. This will be more appealing to the audience. Let there be gravity and seriousness in your speech. Do not make the audience laugh much. Too much laughing will spoil the gravity. Give only a few ideas in one lecture in an impressive manner. I'm sorry. Let your speech be attractive, instructive, and useful. Do not be extravagant in your thought and expression. Use simple words. Avoid Johnsonian style and high-sounding bombastic words. He is referring to Samuel Johnson, who was known for his bombastic and high-flown language. That is, he used to words of Latin and Greek origin. Often his words used to be very long. So the Johnsonian style is referring to the style of Dr. Samuel Johnson, one of the great scholars of the English language. Dr. Samuel Johnson is best known for the dictionary that he edited and published. So it was one of the most famous dictionaries of its time. Many people used to own it. And there was a time when someone referred to the dictionary, it used to refer to the Johnsonian dictionary. I think until the late or maybe mid 19th century, this dictionary was very popular. But later on, we had this Noah Webster's dictionary that I think the revised edition or the most famous edition was published in 1828, and after that, we had the monumental OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, and then we had the Second New International of published by the Webster's company or organization, and so there were great dictionaries published after Samuel Johnson published his great dictionary. But what I'm trying to say is avoid the Johnsonian style. That's what Swamiji is trying to say here. Practice what you preach. Be truthful. Then only you can impress the people. Do not use expressions which agitate the minds of hearers. Use pleasant and sweet words. Use a little humor of a high order. Do not use vulgar terms. Have no personal attacks or hints directly or indirectly on any particular cult, religion, faith, or school of thought, or on the previous speakers. Nowadays, if you see many YouTube videos, they violate almost every tenet of this line. Personal attacks, attacking cults, attacking religion, attacking faith, and attacking other schools of thought and other speakers. I think these tenets are violated often. I mean, they do attack. Swamiji is requesting us not to do these things, but many speakers nowadays do the exact things that he asks us to avoid. Do not enter into controversies on the platform with any individual. Controversies or controversies, I'm not sure. You can check the pronunciation. You should be calm and serene. It is always better to clear doubts or any point of controversy after the lecture is over with the parties concerned. Otherwise, it will disturb the flow of thoughts in you and in the audience. Arrange the points of lecture beforehand. Rearrange them beautifully every time. Have closeness of reasoning, clearness of expression, easiness of style, and depth of thought. Prepare the lecture from different standpoints and for different types of audience. Do not cite many authorities and do not use many quotations. Let the lecture be an original one. Famous authors and personalities can be quoted to strengthen and emphasize any particular point of vital importance. Do not show your pedantry and erudition by frequent quotations. Pedantry is like someone who has a lot of bookish knowledge and tries to impose that knowledge on others, maybe. Pedant. That's a kind of rough or vague definition I've given. To know the exact definition, of course, you need to consult the dictionary. And erudition, that is knowledge. The audience will feel bored. A good lecturer should be able to detect even the slightest lack of interest in the audience. If there is lack of interest, there will be private talks amongst the audience, unrest among them, and some will leave the lecture hall. If the lecture is well appreciated, there will be pin drop silence and the audience will be very attentive. Now, this is something we cannot really detect or judge because when you are making a YouTube video, we cannot judge the reactions of the audience, whether they are bored or interested. But this applies to, oratory or talks that you deliver on stage. I'm sorry. At the end, recapitulate all what you have said in a few sentences so that the audience can well remember the gist of your speech. Recapitulation is trying to put your ideas across in a short way again at the end of your talk. That is, to summarize your talk, in trying to give a gist of what you've already spoken. So a repetition of your talk, but in a short way, in a few words. At the conclusion of the speech, express your gratitude to the conveners of the meeting and the audience as well. When you have to deliver a series of lectures, the following discipline regarding diet will be much helpful. Now he is emphasizing the importance of diet. Do not load your stomach. Take light food. Drink ghee with a little black pepper and sugar candy at night. This will remove huskiness of voice and relieve tension in the throat and soothe the overstrained vocal cords. I should have done that because I was kind of clearing my throat again and again in this video. Use mullety or licorice of pepes. Again, I'm not sure what that means. Check the dictionary. Use mullety, M-U-L-A-T-E-E, or licorice of pepes, L-I-Q-U-O-R-I-C-E, of P-E-P-E-S. This will restore your lost voice. Take fruit juice and butter in abundance. This will refresh you quickly and make you fit for another lecture. Do not take curd. Curd will affect the throat. Practice Ujjayi Pranayam and long Om chanting. This will strengthen your voice and render it sweet. In the end, repeat peace chant. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Have common meditation for 2 or 3 minutes in the end before the members disperse from the lecture hall. There will be perfect stillness, peace and calm. So here ends the great principles of lecturing and oratory that I think every student should be made aware of, because we all need this. When I say students, not just college students and school students, but anyone who is learning, which means we all are students throughout our lives, because learning continues throughout our existence on this planet. So now let me express my views on what we have just read. So the first thing is, he gives the example of Demosthenes, who was a great speaker from Greece. So this fellow used to stammer a lot. So he used to keep pebbles in his mouth, and he used to go to abandoned places that had no human beings around, so that he could overcome his shyness and so that no one made fun of him. So he used to speak to the natural surroundings of his. Maybe he spoke to birds, I don't know. Maybe he spoke to the seas, to the ocean, and he spoke to the mountains. So he used to practice in a very unique way. But what Swamiji is trying to tell us through this example is that if someone who had the stammering issue could become one of the best speakers in the world, why can't you? So you can, if you think you can, is a great line to remember. And when you're on the platform, just think that you are in no way inferior to your audience, because this happens a lot. Sometimes when we start speaking to an audience, we start imagining what they're thinking about us in their minds. Are they judging us? Are they thinking that we don't have a knowledge of our subject, and maybe they are noting down all the grammatical slips or the errors that we are making in our speech? Are they judging the flow of our thoughts? Are they judging the use of our words? Don't worry about that. No one has to be considered your superior. If they are judging, that's fine. Everyone is going to judge you some way or the other, and others' judgment does not really reflect you. It's their own personalities that that are revealed when they judge others. That's why we have this great quotation, judge not, that ye be not judged. So I don't think we should judge others, and we should not allow others to judge us. I mean, we cannot stop others from judging, but we can let that not influence us in a negative way. And there are quite a few great points that he covered, like chanting of Om and practicing morality in order to increase our power when we speak. And a thing that he mentioned is about acquiring command of language. So he says, have vast reading, use well-chosen words. So reading, I think, for an orator is important, because reading tells us how to use words effectively. For example, let's say I don't read any books and I acquire my knowledge of English through dictionaries and books of grammar, and then through my own language skills. What happens is that I then kind of neglect the vast resources that are available to me, the vast resource of great literature. So, for example, if I'm delivering a speech in English, I can make use of some great phrases of Shakespeare, because Shakespeare or Milton or Churchill or Lincoln, they have put together certain words in a way that are unique. The dictionary might not tell you, how to put that word to use. There are many dictionaries that do so, but not many dictionaries do that. So you'll just have the word meaning, maybe a few examples here and there, but to know how the best writers and the best speakers of the English language used a particular word is a great way to master the usage of that word. So, for example, if you want to know how Lincoln used this word, let me try to recall a word from his Gettysburg Address, liberty. Here you can see, how he is used in his Gettysburg Address. A nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. So you can see how Lincoln used the word liberty, how he used the word equal, and how he used the word fourscore at the beginning of his speech. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, and so on. So that tells you, how to use a word effectively in your own speech or talk. He also says you need to be emphatic wherever it's necessary. So when you talk, it's very important to emphasize certain words so that the listeners know which word you are considering important in your speech, and you want them to pay attention to. Avoiding fillers is important. This is something that I'm also learning. So sometimes we do this unconsciously. We use words like or and, often so. Words like so, or some also say or, and some of the other words he mentions is of course, you see. So just avoid them, and that can happen when you record your talks. That is, you when you make a speech, like you just turn on your camera and record your speech. I mean, you need not do it on stage, just in your room, or when you want to just practice speaking. So just turn the camera on and just record your talk, and then play it back, and just see whether you have been using fillers or not. And if you have, just try to consciously avoid them. It might take a few weeks or even months, but gradually you'll be able to eliminate them from your talk, and gradually you'll gain fluency. And you also have things like giving some illustrations in your talk. So sometimes our talks can become very theoretical. So just to emphasize a point, we may have to use certain examples. Like, for example, Swamiji himself, the author of this book, gave the example of Demosthenes at the very beginning. So an example speaks a lot sometimes, and it can really summarize our concept in a better way, or illustrate our concept in a better way. He also says, practice what you preach. That is, when you talk on a subject, just try to first implement it in your own life. For example, if I'm talking about goal setting, I should first have set goals myself. If I'm talking of confidence, I should be practicing confidence in my own life. It doesn't mean that we need to become masters of these things before we talk about them. Then rarely would any of us have the authority to talk on any subject. But it means that we should be willing to, improving ourselves in that area. And then just try to avoid controversy by attacking people, attacking religions, attacking cults, and attacking any other schools of thought. I mean, even if we differ with others, we can provide our reasons and rationally try to counter the arguments of others, maintaining respect and dignity. And we should not use words of abuse for others. There is name calling. We should not make fun of others. So we should have a dignified way of addressing our audience, and also a dignified way of addressing our enemies, or enemies in a sense, enemies of thought, or people who differ with us. So, or people who have views different from ours. And this is very important. That I think there is a great English speaker. I mean, he's dead now. Derek Prince. He was a preacher. So I used to listen to him just to improve my diction and pronunciation and sentence structure and so on. So he used to say that one of the things he learned in his life is this. That is, whenever he used to deliver a lecture, and at the end, towards the end of his lecture or talk or sermon, he had this practice of recapitulation. That is, at the end, he used to briefly tell the audience what he had already told them. So I think he used a very nice expression for that. Maybe tell the audience what you want to tell them, then tell them again in a short way. But I'm unable to recall the exact words he used, but his idea was that you first express yourself and try to convey a message to the audience, and then towards the end convey it again in a shorter form. So that way we kind of ensure that, in case someone missed your point during your long talk or lecture, he or she can get your message, even if they just focus on the recapitulation or the summary that you provided at the end of your talk. So I think these are the main points in this. Other than that, he also gives us some example of how we can improve our voice quality through controlling our diet and by practicing pranayama and the chanting of Om. So I haven't done that, so I can't say much about whether they work or not. These are certain things that you can try to practice on your own. So let me recapitulate, but before that, I think I promised to you at the beginning of this video that I'm going to show you how he has presented the spiritual diary at the end of his book. So this book is unique in this way. So there is a spiritual diary form at the end. It's a weekly diary. So the first column is just numbers, serial number column. And then the second column is called questions. So there are certain questions here. And then we have this month that you need to mention. So it's a monthly practice, but this form is a weekly form. So maybe you'll have four forms every month, or maybe more than four. So you need to mention the month here, and it's a 7-day column. So there is a column for each day: Monday, Tuesday, and so on. He's numbered it actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 days, first 7 days of the week of a particular month. So, and then at last it's a total. So in case the entry is a number here, or number of hours, or number of times, and so on, then you can add up those numbers and put the combined or cumulative value here. So let me just read out a few things and then tell you how you can make these entries and how you can make adjustments to this diary, so that you could apply these things to your life depending on your unique needs and your unique situation. So the first question in the diary is, how many hours did you sleep? And then in the column for each day of the week, so you can say in the cell, so how many hours did you sleep? Maybe 1 hour, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. And then you can keep a track of that, so that you know how long you're sleeping. If you sleep during the daytime, just make sure that you add up those hours as well, so that it should be the total number of hours you slept during a 24-hour period. When did you get up from bed? So note down the time you got up. How many malas of jap, that is beads, right? I think it's called a rosary. So how many times you did this, pronounce the name of God, or counted your beads. I think it's one round, right? One round consists of, I think, 108 beads you have in this japa mala. It might differ, depends on the size of the mala, but usually it's 108, I think. So how many malas, that is how many cycles of this japa you did. So one cycle will have 108 repetitions of this counting of the beads. How many pranayams did you do? I'm not going to read out the entire set of 27 questions, just some of them, so that you get an idea what kind of questions you can frame for yourself, and so that you can use it and apply it to your own life depending on your needs. How long did you perform asanas? He's referring to yoga. Were you regular in your meditation? How many Gita shlokas did you read or get by heart? Now, depending on your religion, you can read from your own holy books. So, also, it doesn't mean we have to read it only in the ancient languages. If we can get some good translations, we can read them in our own languages as well. How many hours did you observe Maun, that is silence? How much did you give in charity? How long did you practice physical exercises? How many lies did you tell, and with what self-punishment? That is, note down not just the number of times you told lies, but also what punishment you gave. Now this cannot be counted, so you cannot put a total there at the end of what self-punishment you gave, but you can count the number of times you told lies. How many times and how long of anger, and with what self-punishment? The reason why he talks about self-punishment is, let's say you want to develop a quality. Let's say you want to be regular in your study of a positive thinking book. Let's say you decide to read one page from a from a book on positive thinking. But if you miss reading that page on a certain day, try to punish yourself. Punish in a sense, gentle punishment. What it means is that maybe you can decide, today I'm not going to take my regular glass of milk, or I'm not going to consume this fruit juice that I like today, or today I'm going to have my tea without sugar. Some kind of deviation from your regular routine that causes some kind of irritation in you because you're missing something good that you enjoy every day. That way you can train your mind to not miss these things. How long in study of religious books? What virtues are you developing? Now this cannot be counted, so this will just be an answer like, what virtues are you developing? Are you developing the virtues of truthfulness, honesty, perseverance, hard work, positive thinking, fearlessness, boldness, confidence? What virtue are you trying to develop? What good quality are you trying to develop? What evil quality are you trying to eradicate? Lying, fear, postponing of things, procrastination, lack of focus. So just decide what bad quality you are trying to eradicate for this particular week. So don't take too many virtues that you want to acquire. In a week's time frame, I don't think you can develop too many virtues. Maybe just try to focus on one or two virtues every week. So, for example, you can decide to develop confidence. So, what steps are you taking to develop that? You can, mention in your spiritual diary. How many days did you observe fast and vigil? Fasting is good for health. So, did you observe fasting this day? Vigil, in a sense, like keeping awake at night for spiritual practice. Again, this depends on whether you want to do it or not. And the last question that he has asked is, when did you go to bed? So just note down these things. So now this spiritual diary can be modified based on our needs. This can also be your personal development library. This can be, personal development diary, or it can be your oratorical skills, skill development, elocution skills development diary, that is developing your speaking skills. So then your questions will be related to speaking skills, and you'll have to frame your questions in a different way. So for example, you can say, how many new words did I acquire today? Did I read books on public speaking? Did I record my speech and monitor my improvement? Or did I count the number of fillers I used in my talk? So some of these could be counted and measured, so they can be so these will have numbers here. Some of these might be yes or no questions. Some of these might be words related to the question. For example, if the question is, what special quality are you trying to develop as a good speaker, then it can be like boldness. The entry will be boldness here. So your columns should be wider. Your cells should be larger than what they are here. They should occupy more space so that you have enough room to make your notes. So as promised, I talked about the spiritual diary in this book. My recommendation is that you buy this book, read it, and finally, let me just mention one thing and I'll conclude. When Abdul Kalam was not selected during this, I think there was some kind of selection going on for the position of an Air Force pilot, and he was not selected. I think he almost got selected, but he just missed it by a hair's breadth, I think. So he was a bit dejected and depressed, and he was walking along the shores of the river Ganga in Rishikesh, and then walking along the shore, he saw this board, the Divine Life Society, or at Rishikesh, I think. I think it's in Uttarakhand, I guess now. I'm not sure. So it's in Rishikesh. So I listened to one of the talks delivered by APJ Abdul Kalam in Tamil. So as he was walking along the shores, he saw this ashram board there, the ashram of Swamiji. So he entered that, and Swamiji was delivering a lecture at the time. So he saw Abdul Kalam, and at the end of the lecture, he called him and asked him why he looked dejected. So he was able to sense, Swamiji was able to sense the dejection in Abdul Kalam. So Abdul Kalam told him about his failure, that he was not selected for the Air Force pilot position. So Swami Sivanand told him that maybe it was not in his destiny, so he should not be dejected. He should try to become something else which God has planned for him, and gave him a lot of books to read, and also read out some passages from the Bhagavad Gita, and that passage inspired him a lot. I'm going to make a video on that that passage that inspired him. I think it's mentioned in the book Wings of Fire of APJ Abdul Kalam. So just keep waiting, and I'll upload another video on that topic. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope you become great lecturers, great orators, and try to convey your message in a confident way, in a way that your audience understands, and also in a way that sounds good as well. Your articulation, diction, and word choice improve because of following what Swamiji has said in those sections that I read from this book. Thanks for watching this video.